What's up, wrestling fans, trading card collectors? Welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Cards. Today we're going to answer some questions from you, the viewers. Stick around and find out what exactly do people want to know. Our first question, which is actually 3 questions, triple header of questions from eManTony16 on Instagram. I'm going to break these down individually, so here we go. Which card is the Undertaker's true rookie card or sticker? Or something close enough? People tell me to stay away from the classic cards because they're so mass-produced and cheaply made. Any suggestions? So for once, I think that most people in the wrestling card community are in agreement that the Undertaker rookie cards that most people want or consider rookie cards, again, this debate that never ends, it drives me insane. But anyway, everybody's on the page for the most part that the 1991 Classic and the 1991 Merlin cards are the key Undertaker rookie cards that you want to go after. Now, the Merlin ones do carry a little bit higher price tag because they just don't seem to be as available. They didn't seem to be printed as much. The 91 Classic, up until last year, earlier this year, that stuff was laying around everywhere. You could pick up complete sets for, $20-30, and now look at the prices of the complete sets. I said that we all agreed on what cards, but we can't agree on the card. And it's a really tough thing, and I say that because in the Classic set, there are 4 Undertaker cards from that same 91 year. But in the Merlin set, there are actually 8. So, different images on each card. But which one do you consider like the card to own? For example, go back to Michael Jordan. You got the 86 Fleer, you got the 86 sticker, same set, same year. Well, most people consider the 86 base as the rookie. Well, what do you do in this situation where you have 8 base cards? I think most people would consider the very first card that's in line in the set. So if you have, just as an example, because I don't know these cards right off the top of my head, if you had an Undertaker number 4, number 16, number 32, so people would look at the Undertaker number 4 as the card that they want to own. But that being said, again, market's going to dictate all of this, and the other thing to consider is just which card do you like better? Pick that one. Something else to consider with these Undertaker cards is the language variations on the Merlins. I want to say there's Italian, and I kind of think German. There may be some others that I'm unsure about, and I may have been wrong on those first 2, but my point is there's different languages on the back of these because they were not produced in the United States. So you have that compounding with everything else I've talked about. All that being said, wrap it all up. Which Undertaker card should you buy out of all these? Buy them all. If you buy them all, you're creating a little bit of a mutual fund, so if one pops off, covers the rest of them. But if this one pops off, it covers all these others. I've talked about that a little bit before in some of my other videos. I think that's a really good way to play this rookie card game or key card game when there's a bunch of them in the same set. So I hope that helped you out. Also, same question about Randy Savage. What card or stickers would be considered a rookie card for him? They're both PC cards for me and my son. This one is a little bit easier. The 1985 OPC set is where you want to look at for these Savage cards. Similar to the Undertaker, he had 4 cards in 91 Classic. Well, this 85 OPC has 2 Savage cards, and really I think out of the 2, card 63 is the card you want to go with because it's a really iconic shot, but it also features Randy and Miss Elizabeth in the same card. But just like the Undertaker cards, you might as well buy both of these because they're both awesome cards and they both fit great in any wrestling collection or any trading card collection, and will just continue to gain value over time. What vintage wrestling cards pre-1980s are undervalued? Bruno Sammartino rookie cards, boy Bob Orton, etc. Now this question's a little bit harder for me to answer just because I fully admit I don't have as much knowledge to, say, mid-70s, almost to the late 70s and backwards. I don't have as much of that knowledge of pro wrestling because I didn't grow up watching it. I wasn't born until the 80s, so I didn't experience that until much later in life when I was able to do tape trading and, YouTube came about and the WWE Network came about.
A friend of mine said I should try America Online, so I did.
Where I was able to discover all of these things. And I have since went back and checked out a lot of that stuff because I love wrestling history. I love learning about the past, as well as watching modern and just learning everything about it. For me personally, over time, I've just learned I don't have as much interest in the now we're going to say 1980 as a flat cutoff. From 80 backwards, I just don't have as much interest personally. And it's no disrespect to anybody that wrestled during that time. It has nothing to do with that. I was just really drawn in by the characters and the storylines, and it seems like a lot of the stuff pre-1980 was more focused on actual wrestling action. As I said, I do respect the history. I also respect the history of wrestling in cardboard form. That being said, as of the time of this recording, I don't think the market respects the cardboard past of wrestling.
It's the story of my life, no respect.
I've talked about in previous videos how awesome I think it is to own like pre-1950 cards just because they're so old. Maybe going back to the late 1800s and picking up some of the earliest wrestling cards in existence, that's fun. But when it comes down to it, when I'm buying and looking to invest, flip, or buy something for my personal collection, I'm generally buying the stuff I know and love, the characters I know and love, or the things that I think the mainstream will like. You know, if you pull out a Jim Landis card, or if you pull out Hacksaw Jim Duggan, most people are going to go with Jim Duggan because they remember him. They remember the 2x4, they remember the oh, they remember, you know, all of that fun stuff. With the thinking that I just said, that actually could be leading to an opportunity for anyone out there wanting to get into the more vintage side of wrestling cards, you know, pre-1980 and all the way backwards. I'm not sure. If you are looking to buy some of these vintage, I'll say, I call everything 2002 backwards vintage. Wrestling cards are just super weird. But if you're looking to buy really old wrestling stuff in the 70s and backwards, there are two key things I would look at when buying. First thing I would look at are the big names, and specifically the big names that still get talked about, but they don't have cards in modern sets. So let's say a Gorgeous George, George Hackenschmidt, The Sheik, etc. And the other thing I would look at is just get the oldest possible cards that you can find. We've seen vintage baseball, basketball, and football pick up in value even on guys that aren't as big in names, and simply because they're finding cards that are in, you know, okay condition. Let's say they send them in and they get a 3 or a 4. But, you know, if it's a 100-year-old card, that's just amazing that you're holding that in your hands in that slab. So just something else to think about if you're interested in buying vintage wrestling cards. Next up, we have one other person with 2 questions. So only 2 people asking questions this round, but they had multiple questions that I thought would help out everybody. Here we go with Supreme Soccer Cards UK having 2 questions. We'll break them down individually. Are these considered his rookies? Just picked up a few on eBay for around $1 each. Almost seems too cheap. And here we go with more rookie card debate. Once again, I've done a whole video on rookie cards. Go check that out there. And maybe that will answer a lot of these questions going forward. I know that it's a popular topic. I don't mind answering the questions, but in my opinion, there are other cards that are not rookie cards, key cards from these guys that are a lot of times better and I think have higher growth potential than some of these. And why do I say that? Because it just gets confusing. And here's why. These are all cards that many are considering Ultimate Warrior rookie cards. Let's start off 1988 Superstars of Wrestling WWF playing cards, 1988 Quaker Dips Ultimate Warrior card, 1989 Gold Bond Ice Cream Bar card, 1989 Classic, and the 1989 Market Scene WWF Superstars of Wrestling. So as you can see, I've just listed off a whole bunch of cards that people are considered rookie cards. You can buy them all because I think they're all awesome, but you can also look at other cards that are just awesome, that are autographed, limited, numbered, whatever, that make that value say, oh, okay, see, I understand why this could go up in value, or this is cool because there are only so many, as opposed to if you're just rookie chasing, you look at all these, the only way you're going to win really is, I mean, they're all cool, I agree, but the only way you're going to win is just buy them all, which, go for it. I think that's a great idea. Go for what the market likes if you're looking to sell, or just create the ultimate mutual fund of Ultimate Warrior cards. See what I did there? Any tips on cards to pick up now before they blow up? There's really no way to predict the future, but there are a few things that I use personally in my process that may help you out. I do like to study the wrestling card market even if I'm not buying. but I also like to study markets of other collectibles and other trading card realms, the baseball, basketball, football, a little bit of hockey, soccer, Marvel, everything. I just like to drop in and out and see what prices are going for, what characters, what players are popular, what are not, what are legends that are cheap that there's opportunity in, just kind of, being a sponge of information. I also like to consume content from smart creators within the hobby. Even if they're talking about something I'm not really interested in, if they're talking about the who, what, when, where, and why behind cards and collectibles, I'm interested because I can learn something. I also like to consume content from successful creators, entrepreneurs, and people in the finance world. You may be asking, why would you want to consume content from things that aren't wrestling cards? Why do you want to listen to people who don't collect wrestling cards? How is that going to help you in learning about buying wrestling cards? Guys, it's simple. It's because these people are successful in what they do. They're putting out great bits and pieces of information. You take that information and you apply it to whatever you're doing. That's it. Simple. I feel like anything a person is doing to be extremely successful, sometimes you've got to think outside the box and do things a little bit differently than what everybody else in your field is doing. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. But again, that's just me, and I'm weird. Different things work for different people. Thanks for checking out today's video. I hope I brought you some value with answering these questions. If you've got more questions, feel free to send them in via DM on any social platform. Comment below in this video. Leave me a question. Might show up on the next episode. Might even show up on one of my podcasts. Speaking of that, if you haven't already, check out Wrestling with Cards, the podcast, where I talk about a lot of the things on these videos in audio form and give some additional information that may not have been on the videos. Also, check out my other podcast I'm involved with Tony Vella from WrestlingTradingCards.com called Worlds Collide. Two YouTube personalities coming together to talk about all things wrestling cards. And if you really enjoy the content I'm putting out, and you may even want to be involved with some exclusive content that you can't get on this channel, make sure to check out Wrestling with Cards on Patreon. That's the best way to show your support to help this channel keep going and also get you involved with some of the content to help kind of curate where we're going with the channel, because after all, it's about the fans. So thanks again for your time and checking out this video. Hope you have an awesome day. Keep buying and selling wrestling cards. See you, collectors.